Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another podcast, another episode of the REDX podcast. We're happy to have you here. We're happy to have Andrew Vose with us. Andrew, say hi to everybody.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
We're excited. We love bringing the very best experts from across the nation here on the show to help all the realtors out there, all the agents, the grinding every day, get better every day. And so I'm excited to talk to Andrew with you today. And a couple housekeeping items, of course, to keep in mind. This is a participatory event. So if you've got a question, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching, just throw it in the comments. We're monitoring those, and we'll try to get to as many of the questions and comments we have throughout the show. And also, if you're not subscribed, go to redx.com/podcast and subscribe so you know about our upcoming episodes and can just continue to learn more. So again, we're glad you're here. Andrew, for those that don't know you, if you just take a second and let us know who you are.
Yeah, Andrew Vose, originally from New York, did the military army thing for 10 years before I just was done working for the government. So then I started working for the government again as a civilian. I was so done with it then that I stumbled into real estate out in Colorado, and then started a team there and, started building around the country, and then ventured back to Florida, where I'm currently licensed in Florida and Colorado. And now I'm here in Florida. It took like 3 months to get my license here approved. So basically fresh start at the beginning of the year.
That's awesome. And Andrew, we've talked a couple times before on different shows and just with REDX, of course. And what I'm excited to talk to the audience about is that Andrew recently has been a new agent and has also built a team in 2 different locations. And so as we talk about, 20 to 40%, well, 20% last year and really over 40% since 2020 of the agents are new. They've joined and become real estate agents, licensed agents. And so Andrew's got some great advice on how to kind of hit the ground running and grow. And maybe we'll just start there, start about getting your team started.
So getting the team started was it came out of nowhere, right? Because I was like, oh, I'll just build this as a single agent, just do my thing, buy leads, door knock flyers, all that stuff. And I didn't really start doing any of that basic stuff because, like we were talking about before the show, everybody wants to go from A to Z and they want to skip all the B through whatever, like the other 24 letters of the alphabet. Right. And I was one of those people. I'm like, man, I just need to build this fast. So I'm just like pouring money. I'm buying leads. I'm skipping I was good at the relationship part, but there was parts of it I was skipping, right? That I just was like, okay, where it's almost seemed transactional, but that's never been my mindset. But if you were outside looking in, it probably was looking that way because I was just trying to build so fast that I'm like, okay, 1/3 with current client or under contract clients, 2/3 finding new clients, helping other people. So the team kind of formed from joining kickball. This is a great way to get out in the community and meet people, is find things you like to do, like chess club, book club, sports, mine sports. So I just joined a kickball league. There were some agents there that were not happy where they're at. And they said, hey, we'll come where you're at if you start a team with us. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds like a lot of work, but sure, let's do it. So we started with 3. Now we're up to 47. And
Wow.
That's in a matter of 24 months and 3 states for our team wise.
Wow, that's some quick growth. And I want to go back to something you said, because there are quite a few agents that are seeing quick growth, just simply the supply demand issues. But I think you bring up something important, is that because of the quick growth, there might be this idea that you can kind of skip some of the important things and that in between that really drives the growth, and more than growth, sustainability. So maybe revisit some of that, because you said, hey, there are people that want to do this, but you shouldn't. But let's talk about what is that you shouldn't skip.
Yeah. So like the client nurture, and I was good at sending gifts, but they weren't really meaningful gifts, right? Like they weren't like I found this, I use Mailbox Power or whatever it's called now. It used to be banner season. and it sends out a gift every 3 months to them, you know, and it is actually thoughtful gifts. Like people have reached out to me and been like, "Hey, we haven't had a date night, my husband and I, in so long. You just gave us a reason to go to the movies, you know, or you paid for something at Home Depot that they needed, right? Because buying a new house." So I'm not going out and picking those out, but they are useful gifts. So as far as skipping the relationship part, it's it's more like you have to create genuine friends in this industry, because it's like you can know everybody, but not everybody knows you as the realtor or the expert in the market. So you being the popular kid does not mean people are going to buy or sell with you, right? They now, and the last 2.5 years, like you said, it was so stinking easy to sell a house. You throw a for
Mhm.
sale sign in there, you throw some. I mean, most agents were, putting up professional photos, but at that, did you really have to do that? Did you really have to write anything for the description? No, probably not. Now things are changing. Things people are getting smarter. People want to see a listing presentation. People want to see what are you going to do for them? And people are also they're also getting cheap now, in my opinion. They're like, all right, who's going to give me that discounted rate? I don't like that. I don't like when agents lead with that. By the way, we sell your house for 1%. I'm like, okay, but what do you get? Like, do you like set it and forget it, like the dang chicken? Like it's just like, so yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that like I wish I would have did at first was plug into my CRM. Get my newsletter up and going immediately. You know, um, start on REDX, because I started on phone calls, but I didn't really, or any, I mean, wasn't making any phone calls, right? Like, so I wish I would have started that at the beginning, because I mean, I have 2 or 3 success stories that I was like, hey, team, I'm about to be on this podcast today. Share some wins this week. One guy's like, oh, I got to buy, sell out of it this week. And another one was like, oh, I just closed on a property I pulled from REDX. 2 brand new agents, not seasoned agent, 2 brand new agents. So it does work. So I wish I would have combined all those things at one time rather than like piecemealing them together over the time.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, I know we mentioned that you're in several different locations now, but you learned all your lessons in Denver, right? And then
Colorado. Yeah.
grew,
Yeah.
and then went to
Yep.
Florida. But by the time you got to Florida, you had learned those lessons, so you were able to start the team kind of the way you wanted to. Now that Denver wasn't working, it's just that you had to make all the mistakes first, and
Yeah.
then make it work. So a couple of those things then that you said. So have a newsletter all ready to go, so you have something to follow up with people. Have
Yep.
a CRM, so you have a way to follow up with people,
Yep.
and then get good quality leads and hit the phones. Actually, start
Yeah.
with
And
building your CRM, filling that up with REDX.
and I think like it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what everybody like. There's no perfect way to do anything. There's a righter and a wronger, right? I know those aren't words, but let's be real. Those we'll just create them right now. But there's better ways to do stuff. Yes, I agree. And perfection is great, but it also can create like a paralysis. Like, oh my God, it has to be perfect. No, send something out with your face, your name, your phone number, and a beautiful smile, right? Like just smile. When people see your smile on a newsletter, or they feel you smiling over the phone, or you door knock and you're smiling and they're not having a great day, smiles are contagious. I don't care. Like even on the phone. So when you're doing all these things and you're like not just going through the motions, you're in it, right? You're all in. It will definitely show in your phone calls, your door knocking, your emails. Because people are like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I'm like, do something. Like, just do it. Like, if you're gonna suck at it at first, right? But the great thing about it is you can refine it over time. There's always tomorrow, right? So yeah.
That's so getting started, and that's what you did. You got started, you learned some lessons, and then refine that process and have like we mentioned, move to a couple different ones. So maybe we'll talk that next. And I do want to come back and talk about this changing economy, right? The changing market that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But maybe first tell us for both new agents or just an agent that's moving, when you got to Florida, what were some of the strategies you implemented to kind of be known, not just popular, but be known as the expert in the area in a brand new place?
Yeah. So I kind of had a small network here, so it wasn't brand new. I think Colorado is way more impressive what I did there than starting in Florida, because I had a network here, right? But nobody knew me as a realtor except the people that followed me on the social media. And just to touch on social media, I mean, you should be posting on social media frequently, every single platform, on your stories, 10 to 15 times a day, creating literally a story for your audience to follow every day. And people are like, why do you post gym pictures? Why do you post food? Why do you post random stuff? I'm like, why do you watch it every day? I mean, I post it because it's my life, and it's very, it's very transparent. There's no BS. I go to the gym, I work out, I coach softball. I like to party. I like to travel. I like to work. It's my life. Right. So yeah, social media, and it's free. Generally it's free. So utilize that. But what I did is I kind of prepped people moving into the market. I was like, I would make comments, or I would like on their post, or I would create a post and I would be like, hey, can't wait, moving to Florida, just bought my house here. By the way, I'm a realtor, right? And I got real estate all over. So there's like no denying, like if somebody chose not to use me at that point that had me on social media, that was their choice, and that's fine, right? Everybody has their own choice. So coming in the market, I knew some people. I started reaching out. I'm like, hey, I'm looking to build this team here. What do you got going on? Are you happy where you're at? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, you know what? We've actually been thinking about a change. So just got like 2 or 3 people. And we just started building here. And then I was like, okay, so got to get into the community, because where this is at in Florida, it's very cliquey. Not in a bad way. It's just like old time money, like older money, and people know everybody, and it's very pocket, and it's not very big. So I'm like, okay, I got to go out. So I started playing golf tournaments, started going to like crawfish boils, start just doing stuff right outside. Like I'll just go sit at like a local restaurant and I'll just start chatting with people. So it's just creating those local, becoming that face. And then I put myself on a billboard. So, so we just have like a digital billboard that has like our clothes. We just got new team photos done, so we'll have all our team info up there. So, and it's it's literally in an intersection where everybody has to pass on 98.
There you go. So yeah, you get to this new market, and you want to be known as a real estate agent. You want people to know you're a realtor, and you're the realtor for the area.
Yep.
And so you're networking in person, you're networking in the community, you're networking on social media, and then you put your face up on a billboard.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. And I literally went back to basic accepting leads. So I'm on call. So the way we do our team is we have like call shifts, like, 4 to 12 hours. You're on that shift for the day. You get all the leads, and you're expected to lead gen during that day too. So door knock, phone calls, all that stuff. Like that's the expectation. Of course, everybody's 1099, so we can't force them to do it, but to be on our team, that's our expectation. So, where was I going with that? So, I lost my train of thought.
It's all right. Yeah. It led me to what actually I want to talk about next, because that's perfect. Because you mentioned the market's changing, and I think if people are tuning in right now, if they're watching us on YouTube, if they're listening to us wherever, even next week, what's on everyone's mind right now is interest rates going up and a little bit of shift in the market, but there's still a supply demand issue, so everyone's a little uncertain where it's going. you and I talking pre-show a little bit is that for the last couple of years, especially those new agents that, like you said, you put a for sale sign in the yard and it sells, right? And
Yep.
it doesn't, and you guys can all turn me off after I say this if I offend you, but it hasn't taken a tremendous amount of skill to sell a house right now, because you get a listing and you sell it, because that's what's going on in the market. As the market turns, there's some things that maybe new agents don't know about, and you're preaching those to your team right now about what they're doing daily. And again, maybe this, not skipping all the way to Z idea. So what are some of the things that you are doing on your team, and that the skills that you're building to help them survive in any market?
Yeah, and I think our team manager is probably watching this because she asked to post this. So we are refining our onboarding and our basic agent skills. So when we first started the team, we didn't really have an onboarding process. It's like, oh, you want to be part of the family? Come on, you know everything already, right? Great, let's go. It was very. So we're refining that now, which I think will help agents get to their basic tools, right? It will get them through the systems that we use. We think all these systems encompassed together will help your business grow. But what I always tell people is, and in a direct and indirect way, is you have to enjoy the journey. Like, you're trying to compare yourself to what another agent sitting next to you has done or did. You don't know their situation. You don't know if they bought all those leads. You don't know if they were a third generation realtor. There's a lot of things that go into, so you just have to stop, take a step back. And this is with listings or the market, you're just going to have to take a step back and literally put yourself in that buyer or seller shoes, because before you didn't have to. You didn't really have to think about anybody but yourself. Honestly, it's okay, I got the listing, cool. Throw it up, maybe throw up some professional photos. Maybe you even had time to do an open house. If you did, you probably listed it on a Friday and you held offers till a Monday. That takes no skill, none. I am, just my opinion, I actually don't like the hold the offers through the weekend thing. I think because I try to be respectful to other buyers agents. I'm like, hey, they're out there showing. Why are we wasting them and their buyers' time throughout the weekend? That's what I advise my sellers to do. Of course, the seller runs the show. I don't. I can only advise. But so I think, but people are like, well, my house hasn't got that many showings. It's been sitting for a week or two. Well, there's multiple reasons. Yeah, it could be overpriced, could be location, right? Or it could just be that everybody that was looking at it that had a 4% interest rate is now at a 5% interest rate, and they've been priced out. So things are going to just sit a little bit, and they're going to require a little bit more, video, neighborhood, doing YouTube. Iris, we're doing a YouTube course through our team, to highlight for the team, neighborhoods. We're helping everybody set up their own. So yeah, I just think you're going to have to do your reverse prospecting through the MLS and reach out to agents who have seen it and sell the house, not just just throw a sign in the yard. So,
so we got two good questions from that. The first comes from Larry Reed, and you kind of talked about this, but he says, how do you feel about agents that take a home to pending within 24 hours? And you kind of talked about that.
I mean, take a home to, well, so really that's on the seller, right? We can only provide guidance and be advisors, right? So if they want to take the first offer that comes, that's on them. I like that approach better than holding offers throughout the weekend and dragging out and wasting everybody else's time and waiting for that unicorn offer, or just trying to get everybody to bid up, and I get it. The seller's motivation is to make money for the most of the time. I get that. So I understand where people are coming from, but it also, there becomes a point where we're all human in this thing. And there's other humans on the other side of those offers that are waiting another 3 or 4 days. And in most markets, you are not supposed to be submitting multiple offers on multiple houses, having multiple offers out, right? So now we're saying, okay, do we just sit there for 3 or 4 days, or are rules going to be bent this way? So now you're putting everybody in a tight position, like, okay. And then the buyer's agents, well, I'm going to look out for my buyer. We're still looking, like, so I don't have an issue with it going pending in 24 hours. If that was the decision by the listing agent, I prefer that, or the listing side. I prefer that before dragging it out.
Yeah, so I like that. So that's some humanity into it, right? Like,
Yeah.
being respectful. Well, one, you're working for the seller, for the homeowner, and so listening to them and taking their feedback, which that may be trying to get more offers, right? But but serving them, but also being respectful of the ethics of it, and the buyer's agents and that. So I like that too. Another question we got, and this was maybe my comments as much as yours, but Sylvie asked, "Hey, what does it mean by the market has changed?" And I would say, we actually haven't seen a drastic change yet, but we're all maybe a little nervous on what interest rates mean and that. So maybe, what have you seen in the market so far as interest rates have changed?
So I think the market's changed in a sense to where it's not the super low interest rates, so everybody's buying power is through the roof. I still think that, and I didn't create this, I just read some articles, so it got my train of thought going that way, that I do think that there's still going to be appreciation, and it's still going to be at that 15 to 20% this year. I think, even with the interest rates going up, because there's such a shortage, right? Like 3 million homes or something crazy versus like a month ago. That was a stat I saw somewhere. I'm like, dang, 3 million homes, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Compared to where we were, so where I think the market is changing significantly is people are having way more options than they need. People have a lot of options, and people deserve those options, but now they have 1% listers. They have people that will crush it at 6%. They have 4%. They got 5%. They got somebody that will do like some magic with unicorns and sell the house, or like, it's like all these. And I get to being creative, because you have to be innovative and creative in any industry you're in. But I think there's a little bit of a stretch happening out there that's like, I mean, I still believe in the belly to belly. I still believe real estate needs that person to person interaction. I don't believe in the whole selling digitally with no agent. I don't know. I think you're doing yourself a disservice by like 10 to 15% probably, which you could make. And those are Andrew Vose numbers. That is not anywhere I read anywhere. So.
Yeah, but I think you bring up some good points, is that we haven't seen the major shift in the market, but we're starting to feel the effects of what we've done over the last couple of years in the high competition with the high demand and low supply. And while that's going to continue to exist, things like buying power change. We actually just ran some numbers last week. One thing we've been keeping an eye on is expireds, right? So that's one of the products REDX sells, is expired leads. And what we saw is this January. So January is always the biggest month every year. That's, just at beginning of the year, a lot of homes expire. And we didn't see that in 2021. January didn't have a big spike. Well, the January of 2022 spike was very similar to the January 2020, which was pre-pandemic, even though it was 2020. And then Q1 has already had over 500,000 expired listings. And there was, in all of last year, there was just less than 1.5 million. So in one quarter, we've already got more than a third of the listings of last year. And we're seeing, starting in Q4 of last year, we're seeing expireds come back, which tells us they're not coming back with a vengeance right now, but they're growing. And that tells us the market has a shift from the last 2 years right now.
And I bet you probably 10 to 20% of that is probably a lack of agents shifting with the market and prepping their seller. Like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, like, this isn't 6 months ago. It's not even 3 months ago. Like, this is now. Like, the interest rates have gone up significantly in just 30 days. Like, what does that mean? Well, it means the person that was able to buy your $600,000 house is now at 550 or 500. Like, that's a lot,
Yeah.
because now they're like looking at, inflation, and they're looking at the cost to fill their gas, which is $5 a gallon, versus when they were looking 6 months ago or 8 months ago, it was like $3, like what we're all used to, right? Or whatever it was. But I think it's prepping your sellers, and then sellers, they also need to get out of that mindset that they're like going to get 40, 50, 70 like offers, because everybody got comfortable with that market. Buyers and buyers agents didn't get comfortable. They hated it. But listing agents and sellers got, they got comfortable with the money that Joe was telling them they were going to get for their house. So now they want to list it 6 or 7 months later, and it's just it's really not the same. So,
yeah. No, well, we are getting short on time here, so I just want to wrap up a couple things. One major thing, Andrew, that you helped me see today is that while things are shifting, or even if you're just a new agent trying to learn or break into a new market, that don't do this jump from A to Z, but take time to have the right habits, build relationships. Don't make people transactional, and do the right thing. And if you've got those correct principles and that right process to follow, that regardless of what market you're in, what market you're trying to break into, or what the market forces are doing, you can be successful. That really helped me out with that.
Yeah.
Well, I two things I want to do. One, if people want to find more about you or see your website, I want to share your website. Where can they go?
AndrewVoseRealtor.com. That's the new one I shared with you, right?
Andrew Vose Realtor. There it is. Andrew Vose.
We were struggling with that earlier. So it's a new one we're working on. So, and then, or they can just hit me up on Instagram at Andrew M. Vose. I don't even care. They can have my phone number too, 315-651-1597. I'd love to chat with you. If there's anything I can do to help, I'd love that too. So, no strings attached. So,
and in the middle, there was a little nugget that maybe people didn't quite catch. And I'm going to have you back to talk about it, but your social media strategy, I want to know more about that. And so maybe I just have to follow you on Instagram and watch it, but maybe we'll have you back to talk that. Yeah. And I think everyone will want to hear that. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us, and
thanks for
share what's going on in Denver and Florida and what you're seeing in the market. Everybody, if you want to continue this conversation, thanks for joining in, and we were able to get to most of the questions or some of the questions. But if you want to continue the conversation, join us on Facebook at the Lead Gen Conversation, and in that group we'll talk about all things lead gen. And make sure you subscribe and listen to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We're available, the REDX podcast, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and have a great day.